In this video, I will give you every player that you need to succeed for the afternoon turbo slate on FanDuel this weekend in 5 minutes or less. After a successful start to week 9 with a placement among the top 1% of lineups, let's keep the hot streak rolling with another FanDuel lineup. My name's Quick Pick Nick, and after simulating a few 100,000 different combinations of roster builds, here are your locks and lotteries for this Sunday, November 8th, 2020. If you like this kind of fast-paced calculated content, subscribe and stay tuned for more lineups throughout the season, including a Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football video over the next 2 days. Note that these picks apply exclusively to the afternoon turbo slate on FanDuel, meaning recommendations made here may not carry over to other slates. Starting off with our lock at quarterback, my model recommends Kyler Murray. Last week in the single game matchup between Arizona and Seattle, my model selected taking Murray over Russell Wilson as the MVP. Murray was the right choice then, scoring an astronomical 38 fantasy points, and Murray will likely be the right choice once again this afternoon. Miami shouldn't prove to be much of a challenge at all for Murray and the Cardinals, as they rank 20th in passing yards allowed per game to opposing teams. In addition, the Dolphins defense also ranked among the bottom 15 teams, both in terms of rushing yards and rushing touchdowns allowed per game, which might sound like an odd point to bring up for a quarterback, but Murray's ability to scramble is a large component of his fantasy outlook, averaging 62.43 rush yards per game and exactly 1 rushing touchdown per game, ranking him first in both categories in the league for quarterbacks. Murray's looking to be 2020's version of Lamar Jackson, and Miami won't be the team to stop him. Moving on to a lock at running back, my model selected James Conner. After a slow start, Conner has picked up right where he left off last year, acting as Pittsburgh workhorse with 20 carries twice over the past 3 weeks. Conner is averaging 7th both in rushing touchdowns and carries per game among running backs, which will bode well for Conner against Dallas's horrific rush defense, allowing the most rushing yards per game to opposing teams, as well as the 6th most rushing touchdowns per game, making Conner well worth the highest expense on FanDuel. After locking in 2 number 1 ranked players on FanDuel's price list, one less expensive lock at wide receiver is Chase Claypool, the Steelers' breakout rookie. Coming out of Notre Dame as the 49th overall pick, no one really expected much from Claypool in his first year, but Mapletron has managed to deliver. Aside from a rough game in the match of the undefeateds against Tennessee, Claypool has managed massive numbers over the past 4 weeks, recording 4 total touchdowns and over 66 fantasy points in that span. Dallas shouldn't be an issue either, as Claypool will likely be able to find the end zone once more against a defense that has allowed the 5th most receiving touchdowns per game this season. Moving on to the tight end, the lock my model picked here is Dalton Schultz. Schultz has been a good option throughout the season for the Cowboys, recording the 4th most receptions in the league among tight ends. This dependency should only increase now more than ever, as Dallas is literally taking practice squad players and making them starting QBs for what people once called America's team. We saw it against Philly, where Ben DiNucci needed Schultz, targeting him 8 times on the night, and we'll see it again for whoever Dallas finds this time around. For the penultimate lock of this lineup, my model took advantage of Dallas's dire situation and chose the Steelers defense. Going up against a quarterback who probably shouldn't have even made practice squad will allow the Steelers to absolutely dominate this game, especially considering their ability to force turnovers, recording the 2nd most forced interceptions per game in the NFL. One last lock our model found is our second running back, Chase Edmonds, as he has performed very well alongside Kenyon Drake throughout the season in Arizona's dual running back scheme. But with Drake sidelined this week, Edmonds will find his time in the spotlight. For the same reasons Murray will do well against the Dolphins on the ground, Drake should find similar success in addition to his pass catching capabilities, recording the 7th most receptions as a running back in the league. Starting the lottery section, my model selected Jordan Howard, as without Myles Gaskin or Matt Breida suiting up, Howard is next in line to start at running back for the Dolphins. He's a lottery simply because it's impossible to know what to expect from the 26-year-old veteran at this point, but he saves so much money that as long as he gets the start with a few attempts, he will be well worth the $4,500 on FanDuel. Taking such a cheap player here allows us to take our second lottery, DeAndre Hopkins, who is picked for obvious reasons, including his number 1 ranking in both receiving yards and receptions in the NFL, but is a lottery due to his rather high cost. Finally, the last lottery is Deontay Johnson, as he should be able to expect a bounce-back game against a weak Dallas secondary, potentially returning to his earlier form in the season when he was targeted over 10 times in both of the first 2 games. That's what my model was able to come up with for the Week 9 afternoon turbo slate on FanDuel this November 8th, 2020. This has been Quick Pick Nick, the intersection for sports, data analysis, and speed. Thanks for watching.